idiots for simple possession is probably for the best, but the whole sales apparatus is just a mess.
Well, what I'm saying is, we're a town where people make minimum wage, so we are a prime target for mass use of marijuana. You got teenagers right here in my neighborhood that just sit on their ass all day and play PlayStation and smoke. That's all they do. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I could see some benefits for it, but really, is it going to benefit the community or is it going to continue to hurt the community?
It's all about money. Again,
well, British research found that even after you've taken changes in economic conditions into consideration, that marijuana users tend to have a lot more legal problems and be less financially successful than their parents.
So I guess it does mean if you want to keep your slaves for your warehouses, you've got to keep them in their vices, alcohol, drugs, whatever. So if I was a massive developer or slave owner, that's exactly what I would be doing.
Or if you want to attract people to Merino Valley and just win elections on the stoner vote.
Right, and be very, very popular.
Yeah, maybe next time Baca does electioneering, she'll offer like free Taco Bell and pizza or something.
No, I think Baca's she's gonna start advocating legal prostitution because they do it in Mexico. So
I don't want to think about that.
Yeah, I don't either. But that's next. I mean, you legalize this. What's wrong with legalizing prostitution? I don't
know. Maybe just don't do it in the context of Victoria Baca.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. Like I said, props to the guy that had the courage to impregnate her. So it takes a lot of courage. I mean, there's no way. I would rather go AWOL than have to do that. But Daryl, I mean, what are your thoughts on this? You're Mr. Moreno Valley. What do you got going?
It's all about money. It's all about economics, money. If you tax it, it brings money to the city. So anything is
wait. Let me stop you right there.
Okay.
Keep that thought. We tax it, we make money for the city. What are the chances of that money going to the community versus the developer?
Well, again, it's who sits on the city council who will decide that.
Okay, I wanted to be that specifically clear.
Yeah, because again, it reminds me when I went to a council meeting in Palm Springs, and the question was to one of the candidates says, because they're having a sales tax increase on their ballot, and the guy says, I don't want all the money going to the general fund. Then the question will be, well, if you're on the city council, you could decide where that money goes. Mm-hmm. And in the same situation here, it depends who's on the council, mm-hmm. where they put their priorities are. If you don't have a council that says, hey, let's look at this, put people first, then the money's going to go the other way.
Okay.
That's how I look at it.
The thing about the taxes, though, is, okay, let's think about this. If you have a city that's full of stoners, what's going to happen to income tax revenues?
It's going to go down.
Yeah, who's going to?
It's going to go down.
Yeah, who's going to pay income taxes when you can't pay it, when you can't?
You can't even get to work.
Yeah, you can't get to work. You can't pass a drug test.
This is going to be a failed city. We are on the road to being a failed city.
Well, another thing too is public safety issue. Again, health and public safety, because again, you got to put most of your tax dollars towards public safety.
Well, I don't think they're going to do that because intentionally to make a failed city, you want to starve it.
Oh, I understand.
Of its resources. So to me, here, with the idiots in this town, and I say idiots to those of you who know who I'm talking about, the people that will vote criminals in the office and unethical people in the office, people that voted for Victoria Baca, supposedly voted for Victoria Baca, people that voted for people that are unethical. I'm not going to say Miss Jimson because a lot of people were hoodwinked, didn't even know she was in her situation. So I think what's going to happen is if it's legalized, and I don't have a problem with people doing whatever you want to do inside your house, because people, the teenagers in my neighborhood here, and I see them at the Adrian Mitchell Park, they're openly out there smoking it, and they don't realize that it's illegal to, even if it was legalized. In the aspect of California, you can't smoke it openly outside.
Yeah, it's going to be just like alcohol. You can't be out doing it in public.
Right, you can't do it in public. You can't. But these people are idiots, and this is why I say the people in the Inland Empire, especially Moreno Valley, you've got these idiot millennials and idiot Generation Xers, my generation, there's nothing worse than being 46, almost 50 years old, and you're still trying to be hip and cool, and you're dressing like a teenager and all that stuff like that. But anyway, these idiots are going to be driving around in their cars with above limits and all that other stuff like that, and it's just going to be a free-for-all for the state to come in and just cycle these people through and through and through. So
Be chaos.
And I'm saying that the people are going to be idiots because that's what's going to happen. We're going to have a rise in our jailing system.
We're going to have traffic problems. We're going to have mental health problems. I know
Yeah.
people claim, like, oh, yeah, you're just like promoting theories about reefer madness. But no. There are many research papers that show that prolonged use of marijuana,
In young people, especially.
does cause mental problems.
Yes, especially in young people. Your brain is still developing.
Yeah, it doesn't. It may not happen while you're high, but just the effect of going on it, off it, on it, off it. Doing that with prescription medications causes your brain doesn't know what to do and causes massive chemical imbalance. And then also, if anyone has a history of bipolar disorder in the family, they're probably going to develop it.
More susceptible, yeah.
And in the case of bipolar disorder, it can cause massive mood swings. It can cause like really severe mania and really rapid cycling. Mm-hmm. In the case, if you have schizophrenia in the family, it really increases the probability that you will develop it too. Yeah. And all these things, not just since we don't have a mental health system that can accommodate all that,
screwed.
We're just going to end up in the jail system.
Yeah, in the jail system. And I don't know if you guys have heard of a lady named Sandra Blount. I was reading her story. That's the girl that was in Texas, got pulled over for a traffic stop, and she ended up mysteriously being hung, whatever. They found massive amounts of THC in her system. So, which goes to show that she was a regular user of marijuana. And people say, well, it doesn't hurt you. But to have the dose of THC that she had in her system, even though she was in jail, and, I don't know when she had used it, to be that trace, it was unbelievable. So for people to think that it doesn't do you some kind of harm, in the long run, it does, depending on how long you've used it and all that other stuff. And any drug that you do, even for the first time, I know people who've tried drugs one time and their brain got fried. They're just walking around like zombies. They're just not the same person. They're not even functional in society.
Look up videos about people that were just like sucking on that, smoking that honey for just like they're not even like getting air. They're just like sucking the honey and they go crazy.
Oh yeah. I think I've seen some of those videos. But Moreno Valley has a lot of issues going on, and we need to look at these politicians to do it. Now, what is your stance on a politician that's going to be running for council? That basically, are you for it or are you against it?
What, marijuana?
Marijuana.
I'm against it.
Okay.
I voted for it, and it's not something I would have really wanted to do. The problem is that using law enforcement resources to try and deal with every idiot with less than an ounce of weed.
Right.
But I don't know, the whole regulation system that needs overhaul.
Yeah, they need to fix it. I'm against it. I'm sorry. I've seen so much, especially in my family and my community. Mm-hmm. It's done so much damage. I believe it's a gateway drug. It leads into other things. So I'm against it. But if they're going to do it, just like they did with alcohol, do it the right way. Put the right regulations out there, because you're going to have idiot people in this city, my city that I live in, Moreno Valley, that are going to be smoking it in their cars with the kids in the back seat. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing that I worry about, because you're not giving these kids a chance. And there's a lot of I've been following a lot of things like the Kanika Jenkins thing about that girl that got stuck in the freezer or whatever the deal is. People are saying, oh, she was such an innocent baby and all this other stuff. Wrong. How are you innocent and you're gang affiliated? People keep forgetting. She had drugs in her system, or she got drunk. Now, If she was roofied, that's a different thing. But at the end of the day, though, she put herself in that situation. She is gang affiliated. Her family's gang affiliated. You see videos of her cursing, and everybody curse. I curse. Pointing fingers and all, whatever she's doing. There's nothing innocent about that. You're a product of your environment. I know people are going to say, "Oh, you're so mean," and da, 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 da. Okay, whatever. My point is there's a lot of irresponsible people out there. That's like, right, I live in Edgemont. You had a lot of bad people in the 90s here in Edgemont. And let's say that person got killed for whatever reasons, evading the police or whatever. Why is it that Ray or Pookie, and I know George Price is listening, so I know you're overseas enjoying your stuff, but he likes to listen to this stuff. But when Ray and Pookie get killed, he's an angel. Oh, he was such a great kid, but he was just destroying the community. And that's what I'm trying to tell people. Stop making people angels that don't deserve to be angels. If you've been in my neighborhood or any neighborhood and you're selling drugs and death to the community and you get killed, number one, you deserve to be killed, and number two, you're not an angel. That's my 2 cents on that. So,
I think that trying to regulate basically, it is a weed that can grow just about anywhere is extremely problematic to begin with.
Right.
But still, I mean, maybe it is legal, maybe it isn't never going to be practical to control. But just because it's legal, I mean, people that do it are still a dumbass to do it.
Right. And and that's my thing. In this town, we have a lot of idiots, and you're going to see elementary kids that are going to be affected because these parents. I mean, I was driving the day and I saw a guy in his car. You could smell the weed coming out of the car. And you're just like, and he had his teenage daughter in the car. I'm just thinking, wow, what goes around comes, so, and let's call it what it is. We are not Riverside. We haven't been a city for over 100 years. We've only been a city for 33 years. So we're still infantile in our mentality and what we do, and we have LA-type folks out here that just don't give a shit.
And Riverside was founded with extremely pragmatic planning, unlike Marina Valley, which was founded on profiteering.
Right, exactly. So that's my concern about it. So if you're going to do it right. With the police force that we have, if you ask me if I was on the council as a councilman right now, I would be voting no for the simple fact that until they build up the police force, because what's going to happen is in this town where you got teenagers and young people who don't want to work and play PlayStation all day, Ray, Pookie, Neckbone, and Shy, they're going to start breaking into people's homes to feed their habit. And that's what's going to happen. And then you're going to have the street pharmacist that's going to try to undercut the legal dispensary and make that money. So until they build up the police force, I don't feel safe that they would pass this ordinance.
They need to get more mental health resources and substance abuse resources in this community. That's what needs to happen.
Right. Convert some of these warehouses into a mental holding facility. Because I just foresee a really, really big problem.
Just trying to hold people on 5150 over and over again doesn't get them help.
Right. No. But what I'm saying, it's a holding facility, as in, so they can go there and get treatment and.
You mean like clinics?
Yeah, like a clinic, or build a clinic
or something.
Yeah,
because they don't need that.
Yeah, bad choice of words in what I was saying. But
I do think there needs to be some sort of mental health crisis services where. There's ETS, but by the time people go there, that's pretty extreme. I mean, there needs to be some place to maybe someone does need to go inpatient, but just do it without all the drama of doing it as 5150. I mean, make some sort of outpatient programs available, which are almost impossible to get on Medi-Cal or Medicare unless unless a court's ordered you into it, and by that time you're pretty messed up.
Pretty messed up by then. But my biggest thing is we are this council is doing too much at one time. We don't have the revenue. I don't see the revenue from Amazon, because we could start doing this stuff now. If they're really serious about what they're talking about making America. Okay, right now, we should have been talking about this marijuana dispensary last year and implementing the program of building the police force last year. Yes, citizens, your streets are fucked up, but we increased the police force by 30 people.
Well, we should have been talking about rebuilding the police force like 2 years ago when Gutierrez voted to cut it.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. It's like, so we got to stop doing stuff backwards.
Well, we procrastinate until something bad happens.
Well, yeah. Well, the thing is, like I said, we're trying to do too much at one time.
Yeah.
Can we please, and all you Edoites out there, please listen to this. Take a project, complete the project. If we're going to do this marijuana thing, you can't start selling marijuana with a 15-man police force of a 200,000 citizenry and expect nothing's going to happen. It's going to be mass chaos out here. You've got to build the police force first, then address how you're going to do the. You
got to bring the resources too,
right?
Because it has to go along with it because you have the police force, but you're still going to have to have substance abuse. You're going to have the mental health, like Sean was talking about, clinics or collaborations with people that's out there doing it. But again, it's who you have in those seats.
But then we have to also ask. You say they're trying to do all these things, but what are they trying to do? I mean, if legalizing marijuana without any regulations is high on their priorities, I mean, what ideas did they reject in favor of that?
Well, this talk about marijuana's joint police forces,
monorails,
homeless joblessness, and all these things that are stupid ideas in my opinion, but they're ideas nonetheless. A lot of revenue. To me, there's more revenue in marijuana than there is in warehouses.
Probably.
Okay, I mean, I've never seen a marijuana tree that obstructed my view. You know what I'm saying? So, if you had my vote versus warehouse, I would rather throw my vote into the marijuana thing, doing it the right way with the revenue that I will see, versus 10 years of warehouses everywhere. The roads are fucked up. There are no jobs being created. Young people don't want to work at these warehouses. Where's the technical center? Where's that? Wasn't that supposed to be sold along with it?
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, these people come along and they say, "Oh, vote for me," or Ito's such a god, he's so great. And speaking of Ito, did you guys hear about what happened to his brother?
Let's save that for next week.
Okay, next week. But to give you a little teaser, Sean, just give them a little teaser of what had happened.
His brother is in really dire financial straits and being criminally investigated, and Ito has had some financial ties to all that in the past. He might still have it, but last I checked, his name is involved in the bankruptcy. Yes.
Please look up to Tulare Hospital. Up in Tulare. You could Google it, and you could read up on it. And
there's articles to back this up. Do your research.
Yeah, and it's very interesting how this guy does business and how his brother does business. It's very, very, very interesting. But in other news, hey Shay.
First, one more thing is that you say that if you had to choose between voting for the marijuana or voting for the warehouse, I mean, why are we getting stuck voting for those choices? I mean,
yeah. That's sad too.
We need people that can come up with something a lot better to vote on. Right.
That's a good point. Thank you for calling me out on that. But that goes to show you what kind of city we live in. This city has gone to shit. But Shay Bernard is listening on the radio, and I don't know if she's going to be a candidate. We don't know. She hasn't announced anything. I, for one, think she should run because she ran in a special election. So now people know who she is. Daryl Taro, what are your thoughts on Shay Bernard running against I Can't Wipe My Ass Cabarrus?
I think she should run. Personally, I think she should.
I mean, what impressed you about her?
Well, just being straightforward. She has good ideas. She knows what's going on in the community. But not only that,
she lives right across from a warehouse. But go ahead.
But she has a way of coming across to the people, and she's passionate, but she knows she does her homework on the issues. And I think she has the practical solutions to problems.
Okay.
Real solutions, not something pie in the sky or some generosity, I want to bring jobs, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But people don't got no education to do the things you want to bring into the community.
Right.
I think I like her.
Okay. What about you, Sean?
I think she should run. I mean, I had my I admittedly I had my doubts when she first announced
So did I.
last time.
So did I.
I know she's mostly
proved me wrong.
She's mostly pretty opposite of me politically, but I had a chance to sit down and I had a chance to grill her, and she
handled it.
Yeah, she handled it, and I was really impressed with how she handled it. I think she would make a good. I think she'd be good on the council.
And I really do think Ito will throw a lot of money against her if she does run. The good thing is that she doesn't really have anything in her background that is bad.
You mean like not like a bank robbery?
Yeah, she doesn't have any bank robberies or bankruptcies and things like that they can throw at her. Thing. What I would hope is, since they're playing these bullshit political games, Dave Marquez will come out in support of her, and who else is? Well, we can't count on Baca to support her, but
that would be. I would be concerned if she did.
yeah, you'd be concerned at that point. But I'm hoping Dave Marquez would come out in support of her, just like Kid Cabarrus has his other people supporting him. But I think she would be a great asset. I really do hope she runs, not only because of that, speaking as a black man, and it's not a racial thing, but I do believe with a third of the population being black, we should have some representation on the council, and not based on because you're black, because you're qualified to be on that council. So, like I said, right now we've got 4 Hispanics and 1 white guy. Something's wrong with that number. So,
yeah, there's something wrong with those numbers in the vote.
Yeah,
at the registrar of voters.
Yeah, and investigation is still going on with that. And of course, these investigations take a long time. They try to drag them out, and usually at the end of the conclusion, nothing was found. But it is what it is. So, what have you guys heard of anybody that's going to challenge Gutierrez for mayor? Now, I've heard rumors that people are saying, and they've been texting me, oh, Denise Fleming, she's the best qualified. Yes, absolutely, she's the best qualified, but she's unethical. So I will not be supporting see, that's what I'm saying. These people have no ideas. When you keep throwing up the same candidates that keep losing, what's that saying? If you only a fool would expect a different outcome doing the exact same thing. That's the definition of madness, right? Yep. So I'm, like I said, people could do what they want, but Denise Fleming cannot win a citywide election. She just can't. So we need to find somebody else.
I suspect that Brian Lowell will probably run.
Yeah, for mayor?
Yeah.
How is Ito? Oh, so Ito's going to back 2 candidates.
Well, I don't know. I can't. It's a hunch. I can't.
Yeah.
I don't have any inside information on this.
Well, I'm gonna say this, and if Brian Lowell is smart, he better contact me if that's what he's going to do, and sit down and talk to me and make sure I understand where he stands, because after the last election with him pulling the shenanigans that he pulled, and I exposed it. That cost him a lot of votes, and a lot of people were pretty pissed off. So, to me, if you've taken any kind of Ito money, you are done as far as I'm concerned. But to your point, the lesser of 2 evils is always good, so something to think about. But as far as mayor, I have not heard of anybody.
Well, again, when you talk about leadership, still see the difference is you have to bring people together. You need someone that brings people together, has a vision, and be able to work with other people, and not pick and choose winners or losers, but stay. That's what leaders do. They bring people together, and they just don't take credit for what they did, or did they give the credit to the people out there.
Right.
And that's what I see. That's lacking in the city. I mean, we're going through some very dark times right now, and you need someone that's not going to focus on one segment of the population. You got to focus on everybody, no matter if you're gay, straight, black, white. It doesn't matter, and that's the kind of leadership you need in Moreno Valley.
Well, that's how the country was supposed to be run in the first place.
Right.
Right.
My understanding is Kid Cabarrus, he is going to be going to the Moreno Valley Unified School District schools And I want you guys to think about this. Why is he going to the Unified School District? You have kids there that are going to be turning 18 by the time of the election. So he is going to go there to his peers, and he is going to tell them, oh, yeah, vote for me, and I'm running in this election, and right? And Shay, if you're listening, I want you to be aware of that, okay? So he's going to go to the schools, which gives him an unfair advantage. And so if any parents are listening, you need to put in a thing, because if he gets access to the school, the other candidates need access as well.
Yeah.
So that's what he plans to do.
Well, I think the marijuana legislation might keep a lot of those people away from voting for him.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
They won't care.
Yeah, and but Kerberos was a marijuana advocate in Texas.
Yeah, but the thing is that if they've already got their weed, what do they have to vote? What do they have to care about voting for?
That's true. But for those that are parents, that can probably steer our kids a little bit better to do something else. But that's his plan. He's going to go for that young vote to, hey, I'm like you. I'm only 2 years or 4 years removed from high school. And look, I can do it because I took Edo money, and you could do it too. Just bend over, take it in the ass, and enjoy. Ride it. It's good. So that's something to be aware of. As far as Denise Fleming, I'm sorry. As far as Donovan Sadiq, terrible guy to run. He's lost twice. He's done everything he could possibly do. District 1, I'm telling you, if we had the election against Baca today, I would go for Jerry Mercado. I really would. I mean, some people don't like a lot of stuff that he's doing, but actually he's been on top of a lot of things that are going on in our district, Daryl, and I'm kind of glad that he's sticking with it and doing that. So I'm definitely going to support him if he decides to run, but we need to find new city progressive people and stop throwing up these same losers and expect a different outcome. It's just, like I said, Victoria Baca only wins with 34% of the vote at most. That's all she can ever win at. And then for those that also listening, I talked about last year the Box Springs water problem. My understanding is tomorrow some papers are going to drop in regards to the chairman, Mr. Marks, is being sued by former employees. Now, what that is about, I'm going to go check it out. And we're going to see what's going on over in the Box Springs water situation. Rumor has it, and this is what was reported from my sources, is that Mr. Marks is a neo-Nazi. He believes in, so I guess him and Victoria Baca would get along very, very, very good. But he believes in white supremacy or something like that. I don't know if that's true or not. This is, I'm not trying to slander the man, but this is what was reported. And I believe that there is the allegations in the complaint that is in the allegations. So we're going to go ahead and look that up and see if that is true. And the Box Springs Water Company is a private company, so there's nothing against being a neo-Nazi if you want to be. If that's what the people want, that's what they want. But there's a lot of allegations of malfeasance going on over there and wrongful termination. A lot of problems over there. Now, is criminal Victoria Baca concerned? Absolutely not, because as long as there's chaos, people aren't paying attention, she can do what she wants.
It's been going on a lot longer than Baca's was there.
Oh, yeah. It's been going on for a long, long, long time. A lot of money there. To be stolen, and it's been stolen before. Over $500,000 was stolen before. So a lot of things going on in the city of Moreno Valley. And again, people come here because there's a lot of money to be made. We have money here. Let's talk about white flight. Sean, how many people have moved out of how many for sale signs have been up in Hidden Springs?
Quite a few.
Quite a few, yeah.
You don't even have to go to Hidden Springs. I mean, I live kind of near St. Meade Ranch, but there's a lot of for sale signs, a lot of for rent signs.
Everybody's leaving, getting out.
Yeah, and the high turnover of renters. I mean, it's hardly get to know anyone on my street anymore.
Wow, I don't understand how people they pursue the American dream and they get out of the apartment, they move from LA, they come out here, they get a house, and then they can't afford to keep the house up. I don't understand the whole point of that, but to each his own, I guess. So it is what it is. We have code enforcement that we pay, but nobody ever sees them. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. And they give us an app so that we have to do the patrolling and the thing. A couple of days ago, Adrian Mitchell Park, her plaque was graffitied all over. And I don't want to be stereotypical, but if you've seen graffiti, you definitely could tell the difference between Hispanic graffiti, black graffiti, and white graffiti. Hispanics have like the terminology that they use, MX13 or whatever that crap is. You can tell who it is. And it was unfortunate. I called them the graffiti thing. It just shows you the disrespect that a lot of these youth people have. We have no youth center. These kids have no jobs. They don't want to work in warehouses, and so they're just running around, running amok, unsupervised.
Well, they can't work out at a warehouse for any significant length of time. It's all temporary.
Yeah, exactly. So, but that's what's going on. To even just to go over there and do that is, to me, it just goes to show you. At one time, this was a military city, and that would have never happened.
Yeah, kids would have got their butt kicked.
Yeah, straight out.
Oh, yeah.
Straight out. I mean, and just the wanton disrespect. And then in my community, me and Daryl's community, the black community, we complain, but at the end of the day, what do I always say on this show? What's she going to do? Daryl, you're doing your part. You're spreading information and hope and things. I'm doing my part, putting stuff out. Sean's doing his part. We're doing something. We're not sitting at home hoping it'll go away.
Let me ask you something about the base. We were talking about the base. Do you think, is there any way that March can become be active? I mean, like it was before, like
Yes. Okay. Here's how the caretaker status works. When the DoD comes in, they do a overall strategic plan of their assets and their needs. Now, if you go to the East Coast, there's over 8 different major Air Force bases because you have all those states across the border. We only have 3 states on the West Coast. So there's only 2 major ports to get out: McChord in Washington near Seattle and Travis Air Force Base near San Francisco. Those are the 2 major ports on the West Coast. Now you have 29 Palms Marine Corps Base, Camp Pendleton, and all the San Diego region of all these Marines that need to get to the fight. The only mobility base in Southern California is March Air Force Base. Norton is closed. Now, when March went into caretaker status, what that means is they're giving the land to everybody, but the original borders of where the base was at any time the federal government can come back in and take all of those assets back over. So public domain it and say, hey, we're taking it back and we need it for things. So yeah, it can be open. But realistically, is it going to be reopened? No.
With all the craziness that's happened in this world, that you may need to get troops out here quick.
Yeah, and that's kind of what happens when you have 2 women senators that don't give a damn about the military that let that happen. When the base closures happened in the 90s, do you know how many Air Force bases, just Air Force bases in California were closed?
I mean,
11 bases in California.
Because you would have think March would have still been.
It should have been. It should have been
active.
No, it should have been, because that's a historic base. Everybody that's commanded in the Air Force commanded over.
Plus, I've heard that is it true that for disaster response that March is the only runway that would realistically survive most types of natural disasters?
Yes, absolutely. Because for those of us that have been here as long as I have, who remember when there was a B-52 stationed over there, B-52s are very heavy aircraft. So that's when I always tell people, like when I ran for office, and I was telling people when I was a operations manager, the ingredients you use to do a runway, you don't see runways being potholed because of the materials they use. Heavy aircraft land there every so many minutes and stuff like that. So the materials are a lot better. But when I'm the mayor and I got my stupid ass brother-in-law who wants to start a construction company, I give him the contract to do the roads. What kind of materials do you think he's going to use? The cheapest materials he can find. And next thing you know, the roads are potted again because he used inferior materials. If we want to reinforce these roads, we can do it. It's going to cost us more on the front end, but over a long period of time, it will last longer. And
I also mean, as far as like resistance to liquefaction or I don't know, asteroid strike, earthquake, unusual weather, that the ground that the runway is sitting on at March, isn't that a little bit better suited to withstand a disaster?
Yeah, that's my understanding of it. Like I said, March I think it actually is the first or the second longest runway on the West Coast. Mm-hmm. So I think it's a little under 11,000 feet. So you've got that. Travis has a bunch of runways over there, but it's going to be a reserve base for now because being in a reserve base, it's a lot cheaper. A lot of people don't understand this. When we went to war in Iraq and stuff, the strategic plan was this. And then look it up. 40% of all your active duty troops have to remain in the United States. Daryl, please ask me why.
Why?
40% of all active military have to be in the United States to keep you from overthrowing the government. That's a fact. Okay? So, if you got 40% of your active duty troops here, they can't go anywhere because we got to keep, in case the president calls martial law, whatever happens, that's a fact. You only got 60% of active duty troops. Out of the 60%, 20% of those guys are in training or doing some kind of support. So when Iraq war kicked off, who do you think did most of the fighting? The reserve and guard. 60% of all your combat forces in Iraq and Afghanistan are guard and reserve forces, and we're still doing that till this very day.
Well, that's the way the Constitution
it's supposed to be.
is supposed to have. You're supposed to have the reserve and the guard at home, and
right.
we're not. If you look at Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution, our Army has done an amazing job, and unfortunately for them, that under the way the Constitution is written, we're not supposed to be keeping a huge active land army in peacetime.
Right. But time and different things have happened. But until this very day, that's why the Guard and Reserves are still there, and that's why that base is there, because it's a lot cheaper financially. Like if I was still on reservist, if I was a reservist, as an officer, for me to take 2 weeks, go to Afghanistan and Iraq, volunteer for 2 weeks, and come back home, and then I get demobilized. You've got guys that are on active duty 365 days a year. You're paying them medical, all that stuff, their families and all that. But for me, for the 2 weeks that I'm there, that's the only time you're paying me. And then I might have to go back next week. So that's the strategic plan that they do now for the military, because it's cheaper to put the reserves on, which it shouldn't be that way because we're supposed to be weekend warriors. But the way that things are now, that's the way we're going to go. So to have a smaller active duty force so that we can give more money to the arms manufacturers. So that's pretty much how it works. But but that base can be reopened, and if we have congressmen and people that would say, look, we've only got so many bases on the West Coast, we've got all these Marines, just right there would win an argument with the Pentagon, saying you've got 3 major Marine Corps bases in Southern California plus Barstow, where the desert training happens, and you have no active duty military base, mobility base to get these troops to where they need to go.
So what about the assets, like joint power? Would they have to sell would the government have to give them money?
They would just take it over and just say, here's what it's worth, get the hell out of here, we're taking the buildings back and everything like that. So, but everything's still in caretaker status, and we could go there.
Seems like one of these days we'll have to devote a podcast to the way the military is
run nowadays, and a lot of people would be surprised. And like I said, to be a weekend warrior, you got to think about this. For those reservists over there at March, to go over there, you have a real job in your civilian job. To sit there, a good example, my sister-in-law, she's a full-time reservist over there. Her civilian job is, she's over there all the time in uniform. But how that works is she's there to take you, Sean, and Daryl, you guys work your job all month long, and you come in. You just can't come in and fire up an airplane and say, "Okay, let's go." Things have changed, and they're there to train you and say, "Okay, look, this is what we're doing today versus next week." That's why when you see the planes going up and down that constant training, that's what they're doing. They're bringing those reservists in and saying, "Okay, you got to do so many touch and goes. You got to do, and it's a constant thing." And as a reservist versus an active duty person, when I was on active duty, that was my job. I did it every day, so it didn't matter to me. But just think, if you go away for a month, sometimes 2 months, you got to come back, fire that plane up, and be just as good as I am. That's pretty tough to do. And these guys are doing it. So a lot of people don't understand when you're doing a reserve job. You got family, you've got commitments. It's tough to have to leave that. Like right now, Daryl, let's say you're making $100,000 a year, or let's say $8,000 a month, but you're an enlisted person in the Guard, and we're asking you to come out there for a month, and you're only a E6. You've just now taken a $6,000 a month pay cut. So these guys are sacrificing. A lot of people don't realize, the sacrifice these reserve guys are making. If we had a good congressman that understands that, like Aja Smith, we could probably get that base back open.
That should be done.
You know, and it would change a whole lot. Oh, Mom just chimed in. Hi, Mom. She's probably cursing me out. My mother really does hate the show. She thinks we're talking a lot of bullshit, but it is what it is. My mom is 67 years old. I mean, I can't believe it, but she's getting up there. She's an old bird, and also she's going back to school.
Oh, good.
You know, she was in the Army, so she's making sure she's using her educational benefits. And, you know, before it runs out, you got so much time. So she's going back to school to get her agricultural degree. And I just talked to her earlier today. I sent her a text and I said, Mom, UCR has one of the best agricultural programs in Southern California. You know, because really I want my mom to retire from her federal job and then come out here.
Yeah.
Yes, I have no problem living with my mom. You know, we could go 50-50 and I could just do what I want to do. But yeah, so Mom, if you're listening, that's my plan. So, and she loves California and everything like that. So, but we got a long way to go. A lot of things that are going to be happening. Everybody needs to be aware. Daryl, any upcoming announcements?
No, not at this time.
You know, we're supposed to be in the fall. I know it feels like summer. What is your take on this weather?
Well, I was give the joke. You get a heat stroke and pneumonia in the same day.
Same day. Yeah, Sean, anything coming up mental health wise? Any kind of meetings or anything that we need to be aware of?
I've been pretty busy with other stuff.
Yeah,
hopefully I'll have a couple of articles for next time. And you know, it would be nice one of these days to change up the format a little. If we could, if the city council wasn't doing something stupid.
Right. Just,
every single time. There's always something.
Yeah, something
local
stupid.
News, there's always something stupid the city council has done that ends up taking priority. So
and it does, because, you know, it's important that people know, because I don't want people to keep saying, "Oh, I didn't know that happened. I didn't." Hey, the information's there. So
I don't come here to
bash.
drive over to Donovan's house to bash just for fun. There's a lot going on.
Right. A lot of people want to know, when are you going to do another of the Sean Fortine fairy tale?
I don't know yet.
Okay, you haven't thought of anything like local? You know, maybe like a Rip Van Winkle, how the town has been asleep. You could read that to the mayor. Okay, so, you know, green eggs and ham, you know, type thing. You know, so we could filibuster during election night or something like that. So you could read a Cat in a Hat. But locally,
it worked for Ted Cruz.
It did, absolutely. Like I said, you guys pay attention. The Russian thing is still going on. Again, the opioid epidemic has been declared. I don't know where we're going to get the funds to fight that. Also, real quick, TSA, if you do not have a new ID card, you can ask the DMV, because TSA is going to start rejecting state ID cards. Certain states are going to be rejected. I believe California is one of them. But there is a way you can get a ID card on your driver's license where it's been vetted or something like that, and then TSA will accept that. It's supposed to say something like TSA qualified or something like that. So, because if you don't, the only thing that they're going to accept is like a passport or something like that.
This is for domestic flights?
It's for, if you're going through the checkpoint, you got to have some kind of verification, yeah. And they say that January 11th is going to be the deadline to do that. So you guys Google it, check it out, ask questions. Do not show up to that airport and want to argue after the fact, because it's not going to happen. So if you don't have a passport, they're going to deny you flight things. And, and these are things that come up that nobody knows about because they don't really announce it until it's too late. And that's why we do this show, to get the information out there. So this has been the Hot Seat Radio Show. Sean Fortine is to the right. Mr. Moreno Valley, Daryl Terrell. And as always, Donovan Sadiq. I'm the guy that will throw a rock and then hide my hand and walk off. And we're going to see you guys again next week. Please, please, please spay and neuter your animals, because you don't want them to end up in the Moreno Valley Animal Shelter, because they will be killed. Also got Felipe's Memorial Rock. Very happy about that. Love that cat missing. He was 2 years old, and he has departed from being poisoned. We're going to see you guys again next week. Daryl Terrell, we are not finished with him. He is going to give us his inspirational thought. You guys look out for that, and I'm going to try to put that up late tonight. You guys have a great weekend.
Your fingerprints.